this picture right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how old are you now?
80.
You're 80 right now. Can you please give me your full name?
Edward Mayhew Lambert.
Edward Mayhew Lambert. And everybody calls you Pa, right?
Yeah, most people do.
Pa Ed.
Yeah.
Okay. How old were you when you went into the service, or were you drafted?
Yeah, I was drafted.
You were drafted.
Yeah, December the 29th, 1942.
1942. Were you married when you went in?
No.
You weren't married. Okay. Where did you go for training?
I went to Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. And how long were you there?
About 3 months.
3 months. After the training, where were you sent?
Well, they shipped me to New York City.
New York City.
I was assigned to the 48th Fighter Group. But when I got there, this group had left. It wasn't there anymore. So they sent me down to Savannah, Georgia. They were supposed to be there, but they wasn't.
They'd already left there too.
So I finally caught up with the 48th Fighter Group in Meridian, Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And what were your duties when you were in the service?
Pardon?
What were your duties when you were in the service?
Well, I was in maintenance.
Maintenance.
Worked on the airplanes.
In the airplanes? What kind of airplanes did you work on?
Well, we first had the A-24s. That was a trainer, advanced trainer. And then we had, before we went overseas, we trained on some P-47s.
Is that plane right?
Which is this airplane right here.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's a B-47?
P.
Oh, P-47. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
In a minute, you can pick up the camera and flip through it and get pictures in the book.
How long were you in the service?
Well, I was discharged the 16th day of October in 1945.
1945. Do you have any interesting stories you would like to tell?
Well, yeah, I've got a few interesting stories I can tell you.
I'm sure my class would love to hear those.
They sent me out to Los Angeles, California to school. I'd already been to one school before I went in the service. And they sent me out to Los Angeles to another school. And while I was there, of course I met lots of different people. But one of my best friends that I met out there, his name was Bob Tittle. But we got acquainted with some girls not far from where we were stationed. When I was going through Los Angeles, I threw a postcard out the window with my name and address on it. And this girl I don't know how she got the card, but anyway, she wrote to me back here in Kentucky where I live. And my mother sent me the letter and forwarded it out there. And I wrote to her, and she invited me to her house and wanted me to bring somebody, another soldier, for her girlfriend. So we done that, and got to be good friends. And but when we left there, he went one way and I went another. While we were there, they called a bunch of us up one day for a test.
What kind of test?
They were picking some men for tail gunners in B-17 bombers. Well, I didn't know what they were doing. And when I got to the end of the line, and the fella measured my height, and he said, "What are you doing in this line?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Maybe you can tell me." He said, "We're picking tail gunners for B-17 bombers. And you're too tall for that job."
How tall did you have to be?
Well, you couldn't be 6'4". Yeah, I was 6'4". But I thanked him very much. But they took this friend of mine, Bob Hiddle. Anyway, as the story goes, in corresponding with Bob, this girl that I met in California fell in love with him. And he'd write me and tell me how silly she was acting. Well, I heard later that he got shot down over Germany. And I really didn't know the outcome of that. But one day I was sitting on the front porch over at my daddy's, and I saw this red convertible coming up the road with the top lit back. And Bob Hiddle and his wife was in this car. The girl that I introduced him to in California.
He ended up thinking she
Yeah,
wasn't so silly after
He ended
all.
up thinking quite a bit of it. Well, we had a good visit, and they was on their way to Florida. And I didn't hear any more from him for quite a while, and I asked my daughter one day if she could locate him on the internet. Well, she soon found him. He was still in Florida. So he called me, and we talked. His wife had passed away. He was really taking that pretty hard. But he's still around, still living. He's supposed to come to see me sometime, but he hadn't yet. But anyway, when I got back to Meridian, Mississippi, my group started getting ready to go overseas. We moved from Meridian to Walterboro, South Carolina. And that's where we trained for overseas service. We left Walterboro and went from there to Camp Shanks, New York. That's a staging area for troops to go overseas. Well, it didn't take long to we all got on it. We was stationed outside of New York, but we all got in some trucks and drove to the harbor there in New York. Because we knew where we were going. We knew we were going to have to go overseas. So we got out and lined up and marched to a place. And it looked like a building we were going into. They was playing a song while we went in there called Mary's Dotes and Dozy Dotes and Little Lamb's Davy. I never will forget that. Well, when I walked in this place, I felt it move. But I knew right then we was on a boat. So we got in the Queen Mary, one of the largest ships in the world. It's a British ship. It's 1,020 feet long.
My goodness.
And we set sail for England. And took us 7 days and nights to get there. The first meal I had on that boat was kidney stew.
Oh my. Kidney stew.
Yuck.
There was an English crew on there. Of course, that was one of their main diets, I guess. But that made me about half sick.
Oh.
I can imagine.
Well, it just so happened when I left New York, I bought a box of crackle candy bars. So we set sail we were going to Scotland. We didn't know it, but that's where we were going. And I was seasick about 6 days and nights. And all I eat was those crackle candy bars. And then the water got so rough, we went within 50 miles of Iceland. The German submarine got after us. And in order to get away from that submarine, I don't know how, but now they changed course every few seconds. The ship did. But the water was so rough up there, it washed one fella overboard. This ship was about 7 decks high, and the water was going over the top of it. Sometimes you feel like this ship was going to turn over. And anyway, we finally docked at Greenock, Scotland. And I thought when I got out of that ship, I wanted to get a good look at it. But it was so foggy that I never did get to see the ship like I wanted to. You couldn't see over 50 feet in front of you when we got out of the ship. And we had to dock out in the harbor probably 100 yards from shore. And they carried us ashore in some smaller boats. And we wound up in a big building, sort of like a warehouse, where they sell tobacco. And they had a meal there for us.
Was it a good meal?
Yes, it was all right.
No more kidney stew?
No kidney stew. So after we had the meal, we marched down the street and got on a train. Wasn't anything like a train here in this country. The compartments where you sat were real small, and we were crammed in there so close together you couldn't be comfortable at all. And we stayed on that train 2 days and nights going to southern England. And we finally wound up at Ringwood, England. That's about 25 miles from the English Channel. And we were stationed there until the invasion. Our airplanes were bombing Germany every day. It was about 65 miles from the coast of Germany. And they bombed Germany daily. We lost several pilots there. We didn't lose, I don't know whether we lost any enlisted men. We lost one enlisted man. He got his leg shot off loading one of the guns on the fighter planes. But when the invasions took place, half of my group, or squadron, I was in the 493rd Fighter Squadron. There was 4 squadrons in the group, 492nd, 493rd, and 494th. And about half of our squadron left after a beachhead had been established in France where they could land over there. Well, I was left behind as a crew chief on one of these fighter planes. And I really enjoyed what I was able to do because I hadn't been trained for that kind of a job. I had a good friend that taught me how to crank up a P-47 and pre-flight it. And so when half of the group left, I was assigned to an airplane. And but anyway, we in a few days, someone woke me up one morning about daylight and said, "Roll out, we're going to France." Just had a few minutes to get ready. Well, of course, when you're in the Army, you got a duffel bag, and you just about have to put everything in that bag that you won't keep. And that's what I did. So I got a duffel bag ready to go, and we got on a C-47 cargo plane. There was lots and lots of them over there. So we flew over to France to an emergency strip called A4, right on the beach, right on the coast. And it had been, this landing strip had been built by Army engineers. And when this pilot landed, he overshot the runway. Now what that means, he landed too late. He went too far down the runway before he hit the ground. And he didn't have enough room to maneuver that airplane like he should have and get it stopped safely. So just before he went off into the English Channel with that airplane, he done what you call ground loop this plane. He put his right brake on and locked the wheel. And when he done that, this plane flipped around and the left wing tip hit the ground and done some damage to it. But anyway,
Y'all was safe.
we're safe and glad of it.
It's better than going off into the English Channel.
Yeah, right. So we were stationed there at this place during a lot of the time we were over there. We was camped in an apple orchard where the Germans had been. Yeah. And they had tunnels built all over there. They could go anywhere in that camp they wanted to under the ground. And but I didn't fancy sleeping in the ground, so another good friend of mine, Charlie Walker, and we pitched our pup tents on top of 2 army cots. And we stayed in that pup tent there the remainder of our stay there. And I really don't know how long we were there. But when we left there, we went to
Is that the place where you almost got bombed? Where this airplane come over and y'all run to the tunnel?
We left there, and I think, if I remember right, we moved in some trucks. I know I rode through Aachen, Germany. That was a town over there where the Kaiser Bill, you know, he was the ruler of Germany during World War I. was a big statue of him there in that town, Aki. And that place had been bombed so much that that statue of him had vibrated all the way around. And he was looking, it vibrated all the way around the way it was setting to begin with. I never saw a building in that town that hadn't been hit by a bomb. Didn't see a single person, did you? No Germans there, whatever. Well, anyway, we drove on through there, and I don't know, just remember, don't remember where we went to, but
Is that where you saw the grand piano hanging out?
yeah. Yeah, I saw some awful nice furniture, grand pianos, just on the edge, just on the eve of falling out of buildings where they had the side blown out.
Wow.
And from there, they flew me to Kassel, Germany. That was a big air base that the Germans had used. But our troops were moving so fast, we didn't stay there for just a few days. And then we flew to Paris, France. We landed on the same field that Lindbergh landed on when he flew across the Atlantic.
Wow.
Called Le Bourget. And then we were stationed just outside the edge of Paris at a place, and most of us was staying in a building they called Villa Coublé. I don't know what that meant, but we enjoyed going into Paris. We'd go into Paris once in a while, and it was Paris is a wonderful place. I went up on the Eiffel Tower while I was in Paris.
You had to take the stairs, didn't you? All the way up?
No, the elevator wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You told me one time that the elevator didn't work.
Had to walk up.
How long did it take you to get to the top?
Well, not too long, no. But you could stand on the ground and look up at that and see it weaving back and forth. I think it was 17 people got killed when they built that tower. Then I drove through the Arc of Triumph there in Paris several times in a truck. And we didn't stay there too often. No. We stayed on the move. Our troops was moving pretty fast, and we left and went over in Germany from there. And let's see, we went to Belgium. We was in Belgium. We spent one winter in Belgium. I've got some pictures here that show you where we stayed in Belgium. And while we were there, on the first day of January in 1945, I was working on airplane parts outside of a hangar there. And I heard a roar, and I looked, and there were 7 German planes headed right towards where I was at. They were real low. They're just above the treetops. But I didn't know. I didn't hardly know what to do. But my friend Jesse V. Jameson and me, we worked together. And we had found a tunnel that the Germans had dug back in a bank behind this hangar. And they had a first aid station back there. And we was looking at that one day, and we decided, well, if we ever need to find a place for protection, we'll go in this tunnel here. Well, when I saw those planes coming, I was wearing a flying suit lined with sheep wool, leather on the outside. It was pretty cold. But I made a beeline for that tunnel. I went off a bank about 20 feet high.
Oh, my.
Those planes come with me about as far as near that pond right there.
And that pond's not too far out now, is it?
About 100 yards, about 75 yards.
Oh, my.
And we had several 50 caliber anti-aircraft guns stationed around the field there. Well, when those German planes, what the German planes were going to do was to shoot up our aircraft. They wasn't interested really in shooting me. They wanted to get rid of our airplanes because our airplanes was tearing them up. Well, they opened up on our airplanes, and when they done that, every 50 caliber machine gun, I think, in the field opened up on them. Well, first thing I remember, one of these German planes hit the ground and threw the pilot out of it.
Was the pilot still alive?
No, killed him.
Killed him.
I don't know how far he went. When the plane hit the ground, it threw him out. And some of the planes went on and circled the field and come back. And after I got in that tunnel, I decided I'd look out and see what was going on. And about the time I walked out of that tunnel, one of these German planes come right over my head.
And there comes the middle.
I could tell when I saw him that a bullet had hit the propeller. Well, that German pilot pulled that plane straight up. He flew just as high as it would go, and when his motor stalled out, he rolled it over on its back and bailed out. And here he come floating down, and his airplane was running wide open. You never heard this, you know. That plane crashed about 100 yards from me, and this German come down, and a bunch of them run out there and captured him. And I thought it acted pretty silly because German planes could have killed a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one of the most exciting times, I guess, that I had.
What about the time you locked it back into the car?
Yeah, I forget just where we were when this happened to me. But I was working on a P-47 through this door right here.
Mm-hmm.
Inside that door was the radio equipment. And I had taken this panel off and was repairing a place that had been shot on the side of the airplane. And so it was getting about time for lunch. So I put this panel back on and walked away to go to eat dinner. And just as I walked away, I heard a 50 caliber weapon fire a short burst back behind me. But I looked back and there was a P-38 airplane, a landing at another field, about 2 or 3 miles from there. Well, I never thought much about it. I knew what had happened. I knew the pilot touched the wrong button on his stick that he controlled the plane with. Well, I got through eating lunch and went back to work on this airplane. And there where I was standing, working on this airplane, there was a 50 caliber bullet hole in the side of the plane, right where I was standing. And there was a 50 caliber bullet laying inside of the fuselage on the floor.
My goodness.
That, I kind of had a pretty narrow escape right there.
You came close.
Yeah. So, I sure was thankful for that. Yeah. But, another thing that happened to me over there, I was showing a pilot one day how to park his plane. And there were several more planes sitting around there and their motors were running. And while I was looking at him and motioned for which way for him to go, I almost backed into a propeller on one of those planes. And if I had, that'd have been too bad.
That would have been.
But I give the good Lord credit for taking care of me while I was. My mother and daddy, of course, they prayed for me all the time while I was gone. And I really enjoyed serving my country. And I was glad to be able to do so.
It was an honor.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
See, we're going to fix to have some company.
All right. Well, I'll just go ahead and drink it.
There's some other things I could tell you about. I've got a story about this fellow that got shot down. He was captured over there in Germany, but it wasn't long till the war was over, so he got back home safe and sound. I was proud of that. I've got some pictures here. You might.
The picture of Paul that he was home at the beginning. And this is the kind of planes that he did.
P-47s.
Thunderbolt in action. 67 Squadron Signal Publications.
Now, what is this? Is this telling about the...
It's telling all about the plane. This is what it looked like in flight. No pressurized air cabins, as you can see. That's what he worked on.
Looking at these pictures, you can also see how far we've come along
with
in
planes.
technology.
Yeah, they look a lot different, don't they?
Yeah.
There's one that's crashed.
It's right on its nose.
Oh, those are good pictures. Those are actual snapshots of him. There's a tank. There's
I had a camera
the
that I
plane.
made.
You made a camera?
Took the works out of another camera.
Uh-huh.
I made a box out of aluminum
Uh-huh.
and put it in there, and I don't know whatever happened to it. This is
You getting all that? Is it focused in?
Yeah, it's focused. Just things as focused as I can get. Alright, now let's look at this picture.
Some more of the plane. Look at that car. Back it up, yeah.
Now that's a German car there.
Is it?
Oh, that's a German car?
No, that's a Jeep there. That's,
Oh.
Army Jeep.
yeah, that's me
Army
in that
Jeep.
Jeep, yeah. That's some of my family back home. That's my mother and daddy there.
There's a baptizing.
Yeah. There's another.
There's
Yeah.
them with the plane. Can you get that one?
Got it.
What is that?
That's a German car.
Is it a police car?
Yeah.
It's got a star on the side and on the back of it.
Whoever got it from the Germans painted the star on there.
Oh, okay.
That was a 500-pound bomb there.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Now, how big was that?
Oh, it was about 3 feet long and 12 inches in diameter.
It'll make a really big explosion.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, how much did something like that weigh?
500 pounds.
500-pound bomb, Monica. It's 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
There's another plane picture.
Yeah.
And there's some more. Is that you next to the plane?
Yeah.
My Betty. Please get that.
We had a fellow in our outfit that could paint. Oh, he could paint some of the pictures.
Did he paint names on all the sides of the plane?
Oh,
Where is this?
that's in Paris somewhere.
In Paris?
Yeah,
Where?
that's
That's
Paris.
it.
That's an important building
It looks like the one in Washington, D.C. with that lake in front of it. You know, what is that?
Is it? I can't think of the name.
I can't think of the name of it either.
there. There's a girlfriend that I had. There's one I had, and there's another. Of course, they got married after I left.
Notice these aren't pictures of Nanny.
Yeah, these are not pictures of his
Before I
wife.
met Nanny.
Where's that?
That's where we stayed. That's standing by the country called it Villa Coublé.
Oh yeah, that's that place that you call it. Okay.
Yeah, that's just out of Paris.
Is that a? What was that again?
Like a hotel
Yeah,
or?
that's something like a hotel, yeah.
All right.
There's a whole bunch of 500-pound bombs right there.
That's scary.
I don't think I'd want to be sitting next to a bunch of these.
Is that just some of the guys in your squadron?
Yeah, I'm in there too. Yeah. Tallest one there.
Okay, right there. Yeah.
Now you said you were 6'4" in here.
Yeah.
6'4" is just taller than my sister.
There's
What
a
is?
V-2 rocket there that fell on not far from where we were. It exploded. They called it buzz bomb.
Buzz
Yeah,
bombs?
there wasn't nobody in it.
Huh.
They'd launch them, and they put the right amount of fuel in them to where they would go and where they wanted them to go.
Uh-huh.
And then some of them fell on school over there.
Oh, that's awful.
That's one of the bad things.
That one's called the Wild Bill.
Yeah.
There's one in flight taking off.
He could take it over landing one.
Is that Big Ben, the clock?
No, that wasn't Big Ben.
It looks kind of like it. Where's that at?
I believe that's in Paris. I went to,
Now that's the picture of you that
Yeah.
they have in there.
Yeah.
You'll have to get a shot of that painting, Monica. Somebody did a painting off that picture of Paul standing next to that plane.
Another thing happened over there, I'll tell you about this. Interesting. One day, I noticed a B-24 bomber circling the field, and I knew that there was something wrong with it. And it circled and circled, and there was another B-24 sitting there on the side of the runway, just like it. And we had it repaired and ready to leave. But this other B-24 circled and come in for a landing, and his left landing gear was flat,
Oh my.
but he didn't know it.
Oh, no.
And when he hit the runway, that flat tire led him over to the left. He run right through that other B-24, cut it in half,
Oh, my gosh.
and that rolled out there and sat there and burned up.
That's
There was 4 or 5 guys in the fuselage that jumped out of the back window, the door, that got out. But the pilot and the co-pilot died sitting there in that airplane. Just like you see them.
Hello. Just look at some of these pictures.
Hello? Yeah. Well, not right now. You can come after a while. All right.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
This picture right here
That
is
little
a tunnel.
hole is that tunnel that he jumped in when the German planes flew over to bomb all the planes. So you were somewhere over here?
No, I was in there, but I wasn't in there when I made the picture for it. I made that after
Right.
it was over. Yeah.
But before you jumped in, you was like over here
I
working
was
on
up here
one, or
way up here.
up here?
Come
Okay.
down through
Come
there.
down and
Yeah.
then got in there.
Mhm.
And then you can see that's a German plane. It's got the swastika on the
Yeah.
side.
Which one was him?
That's Pa picking his teeth.
Okay.
And those are all his friends. And then that was a French policeman.
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This guy right here.
Alright.
His plane. And then there's Pa. He said that they were driving and just kind of stopped and picked up
That's
those
a good
2 girls.
close-up picture of him right
That's
there.
Pa.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Good close up.
Opportunity to visit Napoleon's tomb in Brussels, Belgium. And Napoleon tried to conquer the world at one time, and done a pretty good job for a while. But in this tomb where he was buried, or he was in a vault like. He was in several vaults, about 7 or 8 different ones.
Mm.
And they were all made of different material. And he was entombed down in the bottom of this round pit of the place. And you could walk around up here on the top and view it from above. And those statues erected all around this tomb. And each one of those statues represented a battle that he had won. Well, there was one statue there erected for the battle that he lost. Well, Hitler visited that place and stood there by that statue that represented the losing battle, and said that he was not going to lose the battle. His footprints were there,
Wow.
and I got to stand in Hitler's footprints. I don't know if that was an honor or not, but I did. Yeah, that was really something to see, but they had that fixed. Really nice, pretty.
Blackberry winter, but they have
Whose wholehearted and sincere service contributed to the successful prosecutions of World War II against those who sought to subjugate the, I can't read it, civilized world. Now read this part right here. The commanding general Army Air Forces extends the gratitude of the United States Army Air Force to Sergeant Edward M. Lambert, 35-692-230.
Why? Well, hello. Did you like the interview?
Yeah.
I'm glad
I
you
think
did, because
everybody
I
enjoyed
hear it a lot.
She had to go comb her hair, put her
Oh,
lipstick
yeah.
on before we could take a picture of her.
Oh, yes.
How Nanny.
Yeah, and I'm 71.
She's almost 10 years younger than Paul.
Yeah,
He got
but
out of the war and
but
found
he
him
looks the best because I just did his hair in the beauty salon this morning. And I
The
haven't.
camera's shaking because I'm laughing.
What?
The camera's shaking.
Well, good. Maybe it won't show my wrinkles.